When people think of the sharpest teeth in history, they almost always think of sharks or dinosaurs. Rows of serrated jaws, crushing bites, teeth built for raw power. But sharpness isn't the same as strength. True sharpness is about precision. Some of the sharpest teeth ever evolved didn't belong to reptiles or fish at all. They belonged to land predators, mammals that didn't overpower prey with force, but sliced flesh with extreme accuracy. Their teeth were thinner, more delicate, and far more specialized than anything a shark or dinosaur ever evolved. These predators didn't rely on replacement teeth or massive bites. They relied on one chance, one cut, placed perfectly. To understand how that happened, we have to look away from the ocean, away from dinosaurs, and toward a very different kind of hunter, one that turned sharpness itself into a weapon. Not all predators relied on strength. Some evolved teeth so sharp that force became almost unnecessary. These animals didn't crush bone or overpower prey with sheer power. Instead, they specialized in cutting, targeting the most vulnerable parts of the body with precision. Among all known land predators, one lineage pushed this idea further than almost any other. It did not belong to the cat family. It was not even a placental mammal. It was a marsupial. That animal was Thylacosmilus atrox. At first glance, Thylacosmilus looks like a saber-toothed cat, but this resemblance is misleading. It evolved independently in South America during the late Miocene to early Pliocene, roughly 9 to 3 million years ago, at a time when the continent's predators followed very different evolutionary paths. The most striking feature of Thylacosmilus was its canines. These teeth were not just long, they were extremely thin, flattened, and blade-like, more comparable to knives than fangs. Their shape suggests they were designed almost exclusively for slicing soft tissue. This extreme sharpness came at a cost. The canines were fragile, and the skull reflects that. The lower jaw developed bony flanges that partially enclosed the teeth when the mouth was closed, likely serving as protection. This tells us that these teeth were not meant to withstand heavy impacts or crushing bites. Instead, fossil anatomy suggests Thylacosmilus relied on controlled movements of the head and neck. Prey was likely immobilized first, after which the canines were used to deliver precise, lethal cuts. No living predator hunts this way. Modern marsupials like the Tasmanian devil are distant relatives, but none approach this level of dental specialization. Thylacosmilus represents an extreme evolutionary solution, one where sharpness itself became the primary weapon. And, like most extremes, it worked only within a narrow window of time. Some predators didn't push their teeth to fragile extremes. Instead, they refined them, balancing sharpness with control and specialization with reliability. This approach proved far more stable. One predator represents this balance better than almost any other. That animal was Homotherium latidens. Unlike the massive, heavy-built Smilodon, Homotherium was leaner, longer-limbed, and built for endurance. Its most distinctive feature were its canines, shorter than classic saber teeth, but flattened and finely serrated along their edges. These teeth were not designed to puncture deeply, they were designed to cut. Homotherium lived from the late Pliocene into the late Pleistocene, roughly 4 million to 12,000 years ago, across Africa, Eurasia, and the Americas. Its wide geographic range suggests a predator that was adaptable and successful for a long time. Fossil evidence indicates that Homotherium likely hunted differently from most big cats. Its body proportions suggest endurance rather than short bursts of power, and some paleontologists propose it may have hunted cooperatively. Once prey was brought down, the serrated canines could open deep, slicing wounds with minimal force. This made killing faster and more efficient. Likely prey included large herd animals, horses, bison, and even juvenile mammoths. Rather than crushing bone, Homotherium focused on blood loss and tissue damage, using its teeth like knives rather than spears. In many ways, this strategy represents the most refined use of sharp teeth among land predators. Not the longest, not the most dramatic, but possibly the most effective. Modern big cats like lions are its closest living relatives, yet none possess teeth shaped or used in quite the same way. Homotherium shows that sharpness didn't have to be extreme to be deadly. It only had to be precise. Among all predators with cutting teeth, one became so distinctive that it reshaped how we imagine prehistoric hunters. Its teeth were not just tools, they were symbols. That animal was Smilodon fatalis. Smilodon lived during the late Pleistocene, roughly 2.5 million to 10,000 years ago, across North and South America. Unlike the lean build of Homotherium, Smilodon was heavily constructed. Its forelimbs were massive, its chest broad, and its neck built to stabilize a very specific weapon: its canines. These teeth were enormous, some reaching nearly 20 centimeters in length. They were laterally flattened and sharply edged, designed to slice through soft tissue with precision. But their length came with a serious limitation. They were fragile. Fossil evidence suggests that Smilodon did not rely on its bite force to kill. In fact, its bite was weaker than many modern big cats. Instead, it used its powerful forelimbs to wrestle prey into position, pinning it down before delivering a carefully placed bite to the throat or belly. This was not a fast kill. It was a controlled one. Smilodon likely targeted large, slow-moving herbivores, bison, horses, camels, and ground sloths. Once contact was made, the goal was to sever major blood vessels, causing rapid blood loss rather than crushing trauma. Modern big cats like lions and tigers are its closest living relatives, but none rely on elongated canines to kill. They bite hard. Smilodon bit carefully. This made it highly effective, but also dependent on stable conditions. Any mistake could mean broken teeth and death. In Smilodon, sharpness reached its most famous form, but it also revealed the cost of pushing specialization too far. Animals that hadn't committed fully to long blades, but were already moving away from brute force. One of the most important of these was Machaerodus. Machaerodus lived during the Miocene, roughly 15 to 5 million years ago, a time when many modern mammal groups were still taking shape. It looked like a large cat, but its proportions were lighter and more agile than later saber-toothed species. Its canines were long, narrow, and clearly serrated, not as dramatic as those of Smilodon, but far sharper than the teeth of most predators of its time. These teeth represent an early shift from crushing and gripping toward cutting. This matters. Unlike later saber-tooths, Machaerodus still retained a relatively functional bite. Its jaws could apply moderate force, but the teeth suggest it relied increasingly on slicing wounds rather than overpowering prey in a single moment. Fossil evidence suggests Machaerodus likely hunted medium-sized herbivores. Instead of delivering one fatal bite, it may have inflicted repeated cuts, weakening prey through blood loss before the animal collapsed. This was a transitional strategy. It lacked the overwhelming power of modern big cats, but it also avoided the fragility of extreme saber teeth. In many ways, Machaerodus represents the bridge between generalist predators and highly specialized hunters that came later. Modern big cats are its closest living relatives, but none retain this combination of serrated cutting teeth and relatively flexible jaw mechanics. Machaerodus shows that sharp teeth didn't appear suddenly. They were tested, refined, and pushed further, until some predators crossed the line from adaptable to extreme. There were predators already experimenting with cutting edges, animals that lived in a world that looked nothing like the one we know today. One of the most important of these was Dimetrodon. Despite how it's often portrayed, Dimetrodon was not a dinosaur. It lived during the early Permian period, roughly 295 to 272 million years ago, tens of millions of years before the first dinosaurs evolved. It belonged to a group called synapsids, making it a very distant relative of modern mammals. Its teeth tell a revealing story. Unlike blunt, conical teeth seen in many early predators, Dimetrodon possessed laterally compressed teeth with true serrations. These serrations formed cutting edges capable of slicing flesh, not just gripping or puncturing it. This was a major evolutionary step. Fossil evidence suggests Dimetrodon relied on a powerful bite to subdue prey, after which its serrated teeth could cut deeply into tissue. The combination of force and sharpness made it one of the most effective predators of its time. It likely hunted large amphibians and early reptiles that inhabited swampy environments. In these ecosystems, speed mattered less than control, and the ability to inflict serious wounds quickly could determine survival. What makes Dimetrodon especially important is its position in time. This animal demonstrates that cutting teeth evolved independently, long before sharks perfected replaceable blades, and long before dinosaurs developed their own serrated designs. Sharpness was not inherited from one lineage, it was rediscovered again and again. Modern mammals are its distant descendants, but none retain this exact combination of jaw power and serrated cutting teeth. Dimetrodon stands as a reminder that some of the sharpest teeth in history appeared early, before dinosaurs, before mammals, and long before anyone expected them.